Joe, have you decided on your 11 yet?
No, we're going to leave that decision till tomorrow.
What is there still to consider?
I think you've got to factor in the weather and the changing conditions going into tomorrow. Still not sure how that pitch is going to look tomorrow as well, so we've got to factor that all in, see what it looks like in the morning.
Are you considering playing Jofra and Sam Curran, so you have 5 seamers?
We picked a squad of 12 so we can make a decision from there. It gives us plenty of different options to go with, so that was the idea behind the 12 and gives us plenty to choose from in the morning.
What could Sam Curran give you though? How could it help playing him as well?
Sam's a brilliant talent. He's got the ability to change the game with both bat and ball, similar to Ben. His record is fantastic. He has had a huge impact in most of the games he's played, and is a very promising young talent that I'm sure will play a huge amount of Test cricket. So it's great to see him going back even into the 2020 format and performing for Surrey, and keep pushing his case really hard when he gets his chance.
And in terms of Jofra, are you as excited as everyone else to see what he can do with a red ball?
Yeah, I am, especially having heard his press conference yesterday. He's certainly very confident, and that's great to see in a young guy, as he should be off the back of a brilliant World Cup. And as he's made very clear, it's his preferred format, red ball. So again, very excited to see him at the start of a journey.
Does it matter that he's only played one red ball game in 11 months and there's all this pressure on him? Are you concerned at all about that?
No. As I said, he's a very confident young guy, and things like that don't seem to faze him. I think he's proven that throughout the World Cup, coming in and dealing with being a part of that squad right at the last minute and all the pressures that held. He doesn't seem to. He doesn't want to shy away from stuff like that. So, I think if anything, it'll motivate him. When he gets his chance, he'll be desperate to prove to everyone how good he says he is.
And Jack Leach would give you a left arm spin option. Could he be the key to getting Steve Smith out? Or that's talked about as a potential weakness, isn't it?
Look, I think Steve's got to start again this week, as do everyone else. He's obviously played very well last week at Edgbaston, but I feel like we created a lot of good chances or close chances last time around, especially in the first innings when that ball was moving around, and we've got to make sure that, if anything, maybe just stick to our plans a little bit longer, trust that they're going to work, and be nice and patient.
Joe, people always get excited about potential, and particularly when it's a guy who is waiting to make his Test match debut. Potentially, is Jofra Archer the guy who could win you the Ashes this summer?
We'll have to wait and see. If you ask him, he'll definitely say yes. That's what you want. Young guys coming in full of confidence and belief in their own ability, and someone that's definitely not going to shy away from any challenge. So, it's great to have characters like that in the dressing room. It feeds off the rest of the guys as well, and it's a great position for him to start in.
And you have had something of a break, Joe, which is such a rarity this summer of all summers. With that in mind, do you expect whoever plays there to be a general sense of intensity that you bring to this match?
Yeah, I think made the most of getting away, spending some time with families, and having some downtime. And then some guys came in on Sunday, did a bit of extra stuff, and then we've trained very well. We've made the most of difficult conditions yesterday, in and outside, and went through our stuff today pretty well as well. So everyone's very excited about this opportunity, and fully confident that we can go 1-1 in the series.
Just a final thought about the weather. I mean, we can't predict it, but it looks like there will be certain sessions lost to it. Does that change your mentality now? Are you almost planning for a 3.5-day Test match or a 4-day Test match?
No, you've got to keep an open mind. Test cricket's all about adapting anyway. So I'm sure that if the weather throws up some surprises or has a big say in things, we'll have to make sure we manage that well as well.
Okay, take some more questions. Andrew at the back. Go ahead.
Joe, it's Justin Lang was talking yesterday about the luxury of having 6 fit and firing fast bowlers to rotate. James Patterson's missing out this time. I mean, obviously, Ollie Stone's injured, Mark Wood's injured, Jimmy's injured. I mean, 4 tests in 5 weeks is a big ask. How confident are you can manage your resources to make sure that you compete right to the end?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big responsibility comes on the players, making sure that they look after themselves and keep themselves as fit as possible. Throughout the rest of this campaign, I think there are certain things which you can't control, and sometimes you get thrown bad hand and you have to deal with it. And I think we've responded well to that in the past when it's happened, and we've got to make sure that we do exactly the same this time. But we've got some very talented players and bowlers, especially in this group, that are fully capable of taking 20 wickets this week.
Go ahead, yeah.
Joe, Justin Langer said he's a bit curious about what Jofra Archer could do with a red ball. So for him, the Australian cricket team, all the fans here and back at home, can you tell us what it's like facing a Jofra Archer red ball and those bounces, of which you may get a few more of in the Test series?
Yeah, it's not always pleasant, but it's very, very exciting to stand at slip two. And he's a very skillful young guy. He can swing the ball both ways. He's got, as you say, a good bouncer and bowls at good pace consistently. So I'm sure he'll cause problems on most surfaces, and hopefully he can exploit this one this time round.
Julie.
Joe, you were quite critical of the pitch here for the Ireland game. What are you expecting from it this week?
I'm expecting it to be better. But we've had some good Test matches here in the past, and you're not going to get it right all the time. And then there's quite extreme conditions in terms of the weather. There's a lot of sun and extra heat, which you don't normally expect even in an English summer. So they had their own challenges. I'm sure they've worked extremely hard to prepare a brilliant wicket this time round, and hopefully there's a bit there for everyone.
John, and then Rory.
Joe, you've spoken about the need or the having sort of downtime since the last match, but how difficult is it striking the right balance? Because some of the guys haven't got to run really against the red ball, and getting that kind of red ball practice in, but also kind of resting and recuperating still in the light of the the demanding schedule you've had over the last few months.
Yeah, it's always you're always trying to find that balance in international cricket, the schedule in the way it is. I think naturally guys have to find what works for them, but it's not a problem if you win. It's only a problem if you lose, and unfortunately that's how it turned out in that first Test match. And we've got to make sure that we just respond well this week, and we make sure we win this game, and it's not an issue.
Also, you mentioned about sticking to your plans against Smith. I mean, were you maybe a bit impatient in the first Test?
I think later on in the game, we were in the second innings. I think we tried to chase things a little bit, tried to make maybe slightly too aggressive early on to him, let him get in. Which a natural thing to do when you're a bowler down, and you're taking 2 early wickets and you're trying to make the most of a lead, and then we never really managed to build any pressure throughout the rest of that innings. So I think we'll go about things slightly differently. I think we had some really good plans and we put him under pressure, especially in the first innings. First 25 runs took him a long time to get, and he really made a big impact once he tried to farm the strike. Siddle came out there and stuff, so that's more when he started to really hurt us. But I think it showed that we're doing the right things, we just need to do them for longer.
Do you think the pace and firepower of Archer could unsettle him?
Could potentially. Yeah, very hopeful.
Is that a tactic that you'll look to use, go hard and short, fast?
I think you try and use your whole armoury in different ways and make sure that their best balls are going to be good enough. I'm fully confident that the whole bowling group have got everything it takes to get every single one of their players out. It's just making sure that you're challenging their defence for long enough and making sure that they're making more mistakes than you are.
Rory, and then we'll do Rob at the back of the room.
Joe, you had Simon Harmer in yesterday, sort of bowling at you. I guess that was a sort of a straight up practice for Nathan Lyon. Was that helpful in terms of sort of clarifying your plans against Lion in particular?
Yeah, I think it's always good to get opportunities. Someone who's had great success in county cricket in recent years, him to offer up his time and help us prepare was brilliant. A very good gesture from him and from Essex. And you want to try and test yourself as much as you can in practice, and he certainly helped us do that.
And just have you spoken to personally as captain to Moeen, and would you expect to see him again in this series or not necessarily?
Yeah, I've spent a good while chatting to Mo, making sure he understood where he's at, or where we were at in terms of getting him back to his best, and feel like going and playing some county cricket, performing well for Worcester. As he proved last summer, coming into that India series and having a massive influence on it, and there's no reason why he can't go back and do the same again, and try and force his way back into the squad. He's been a big part of English cricket. He's done some fantastic things in a Test shirt, and it's certainly not the last we'll see of him. He's a fine cricketer. He's a great man. Gives so much to this team, and I'm sure that it won't be long until you see him back involved.
Rob at the back.
Were you surprised to see James Patterson left out of there alone? Are you happy not to be facing him here?
Well, I was and I wasn't. They bring that. I suppose the squad of bowlers they have, you're looking for over the course of a 5-match series. They are going to chop and change things over, try and find different formulas for different surfaces and conditions. And I'm not surprised that they've gone with those two added to the squad for Lords. So each side has their own way of trying to set up and throughout a whole series. And we've prepared. We made sure we got our practice in against left arm angle, and are very prepared for Hazelwood as well.
We'll take a couple more, Ali, and then one more after.
Joe, Chris Wokes has got a very good record at Lords. Is that the sort of thing you try and remind the player of, and also would you probably expect to use him a little bit more than you did second innings at Edgbaston?
Yeah, I don't think you really need to remind Chris of his record here. It speaks for itself. Every time you walk through the dressing room, you see his name at the bottom of the honours board a few times, especially in that bowling column. So it's great, when you've got guys coming back to venues where they've got really fond memories. That's really powerful. It feeds a lot of confidence through him and through the rest of the guys. And yeah, we didn't use him as much, or I didn't use him as much in the second innings, but what that does mean is he's fit and fresh and ready to go this time around.
Is it the case for him and Stuart probably to just take a bit of the pressure off Jofra Archer, given that it is still, for all the talk, it is still a Test debut, isn't it? So they're your senior bowlers, isn't it?
Yeah, they're senior bowlers. They'll want to set the tone. They'll want to make sure that they're leading the way. But ultimately, it's about how you dovetail as a whole attack and making sure that you play your part in that. And I'm sure they'll be able to do that just fine.
Do those two open the bowling, Wokes and Broad, or is it?
We don't really need to have a set plan on that. We can see what the conditions throw at us and see what we think's best to go with.
Stefan to finish off.
Joe, it's 7 Test matches without a win against Australia, 6 of those have been defeats. Why do you think they've had that stronghold, and what's making you confident that you can turn that around this week, especially given another defeat and the Ashes will be very close to being done?
I think that's a wrong way to look at it. I think that Ashes series in Australia is a long time away now. It's a very different squad of players. It's a very we're in English conditions. I really back ourselves to perform and to come back strong after last week. We've proven that we do that time and time again when we've been defeated, especially at home. And I'm expecting a big response from the boys. Last week will have hurt everyone, and everyone will be absolutely desperate to go and win this week. And I expect nothing less.